for the format tonight, I've got kind of a series of questions we'll kind of go through, but what would be one thing that, or one piece of advice that you would give your younger self on your journey?
Making sure you have a good group, a good list of people at every position that you're in. That if that guy leaves, I got a guy right now that I can either on my own, if I have the autonomy to do it, bring them in myself, or I can hopefully convince the guy that I'm working for that this is the right guy for the job. Because you don't want to have people under you that are coming in from all different areas that you don't know, maybe you don't like, just doesn't fit or whatever. I'm not saying good guy, bad guy. I'm just saying the guy doesn't fit or it doesn't work in your group, and it just becomes a problem. So
get in your lane and stay in your lane. So if you want to be a Power 5 athletic director, that you should probably work in Power 5 schools. I feel like maybe professionally, I could have gone to Oregon State in 2004 and worked at Oregon State. And I didn't do it because I wanted a career in San Diego, not a career in athletics. And so I was having fun in San Diego. I was going to Las Vegas, Palm Springs, playing golf, doing everything you could imagine as a guy in his mid-20s doing in San Diego. And I kind of missed the ball. And so now I changed for me. And it's always like, big time is where you at. I live by that motto. Just because you go down to another school doesn't mean it stops your work ethic and your performance on how you're going to approach things. And so I think
called a rhino now or a dinosaur, but some of these millennials are different, man. I mean, they don't want to work themselves up. I was a Blesto scout. I was the entry level scout at Detroit with the Lions. Then I became an area scout. Then I became a college/pro scout. Then I became a director. Then I was moved up to vice president. Then I became an interim GM. Guys want to go from Blesto scout to GM right now. They want to go from assistant running back coach to head coach. And there's like no patience for it. So, meeting with every player that way and meeting with them and understanding and asking them what their goals are, whether they want out of this, and trying to help them get to where they need to go and let them know you were helping them, trying to help them grow. But when I had a couple battles in there, man,
when you're going through the interview process and you're the person who's interviewing for the job, what can you look for from a red flag standpoint or from a good standpoint to determine whether you should or should not take a prospective job?
I look for work ethic and integrity, and someone that when they come in the room, you can feel their spirit, you can feel their soul, and you can feel like they're passionate about being great. There's so many pretenders, and you can see when they bring these big books into you and telling you what they're going to do, and you can see right through all that BS. I get down to the nitty gritty when I interview. So I usually make sure that every candidate comes in, they go through the committee screen, and then I get an hour time. And before you know it, they're on the board diagramming their strategy and plays, and I'm throwing things at them and asking them questions and seeing how they respond. And you start to really get to reach your student athletes and your players where they are. You can't try to conform to just saying, this is who I am and this is where I'm at. I think you get the best out of student athletes, players, whether it's pro or professional, where you could meet them where they are.
And that means things too, when you're an understudy, you mentioned that coming in, when you're not the head guy, one of the questions I love to put in there, because you always ask that goal. If you're actually interviewing a coach, hey, what's your goal in this? And I want to be a head coach. Hey, if you're interviewing for personnel, most guys will tell you, I want to be a general manager. And so I always wanted to ask that question. Okay, but you're not interviewing for that job now. David, you're interviewing for the running back coach job. Okay, so if 10 years from now you're the running back coach still, are you okay with that? And what I wanted to know is if they had a passion for the profession. We're a little older now, but when I got in this thing, there wasn't a lot of money in it. And so we weren't doing it for the ascension. We were doing it because we love the sport. So being good at the job you're in and interviewing in the one you're in and letting them know, hey, if I'm a running back, I just want to be the best running back coach I can be for the next 10 years. If that's where I am, and I'm good because I'm where I want to be. It's what I'm doing. I have a passion for it. Would I like to grow? Absolutely. But as you creep up in our profession, it's a smaller space and a smaller space. You get in the NFL, there's 32 of them in the world. Mrs. Ford asked me to be the GM for 8 weeks. I was in charge of Jim Caldwell for 8 weeks. We finished 6-2. It's the best record. I don't ever want to be a GM again because it's the best record in NFL history at 750, right? But point being, though, is just having a passion for what you're doing and let them know that you're here to serve. You're here to work for this person you're under, and you're here to be very loyal and just be you. Let them know who they're hiring. And lots of times when you come off as you'd be amazed because, hey, the guy hiring doesn't want 100 of them. They want you got to have a little bit of everything in the room, and I got to make sure that you're the guy. Hey, you need a guy that screams and yells. You may need, excuse my language, you may need an asshole in the room. You may need a great guy. You may need a Christian guy. You need a diversity on your staff. So you're looking for all those things, and you want that when you're hiring. But that's probably the reason they brought you in, because you fit one of those molds. So be you while you're there.
How do you determine what the fit and the culture of the place is if you're on the outside looking in? Like, that's something I've probably taken a job that I shouldn't have because I couldn't quite gauge that stuff as well as I could. So, and you know, for anybody else in the room too.
I think for me, it's something that you can't really find out until you get to get in and get to talk to the people in the organization, you know, sit down with the head coach and the coordinators and whoever else in there, just getting to talk to them. You know, I feel like on the basis, you know, you might have a pretty good idea, yes or no. Sometimes you just have to trust your gut. And then obviously just trying to reach out. Maybe you know somebody who knows this person and whatnot, and kind of get some insight in there as well. But, you know, I don't think there's a clear-cut answer for that. But I definitely think that there's a way to go about it, for sure.
I think one thing, you know, I got told this, and Sheldon, you probably know him, or I know you've crossed paths with him, Dwayne Joseph out with the Las Vegas Raiders.
Yes.
All right. So DJ, me and DJ are really good friends, and he got to the league. I was still in college, and we would have conversations, and he would say to me, "You've got to figure out in your mind what a good job is, and then you'll know if the next opportunity is a better one than you have right now." And he would talk about a lot of different factors in that. You know, where does your wife want to be? You know, I'm an East Coast guy. All my family's on the East Coast. So a good job maybe out in California isn't a good job for me, where it may be a good job for another guy. And then he used to talk about, look at the organization and look at the coaches that have been there and the longevity of the coaches in a particular spot. That gives you an idea of how good a particular building is. If you see turnover every 3 to 4 years with a coaching staff, he says that's not a good job. That's not a good opportunity. And then the other thing he would always talk to me about is, does it have a chance to win? Because if you don't win, you're going to be out of a job anyway. So he kind of put those things in my brain, and when certain things would come up, or maybe I'd get wind of an opportunity, I'd kind of go through my checklist of what I think a good job is, and I would just let some stuff just keep on moving, or I'd go after a certain job. But I always have remembered that having your own definition of what's a good job for you, because it's going to be different from all of us on this call.
And I'll add that, as you build your career, you need to find pillars or people you can contact and talk to help give you career advice that are going to actually give you real talk and say, this job actually doesn't align with you and you might not want to take it, and find boots on the ground. And I think we often miss that point where we find people, the connector, to tell us about what that job really is all about versus just pursuing network. You see how we just, a small network right here, we just built it to find out. You got to figure out how to separate yourself, because really they're controlling the deck, unfortunately, or fortunately, on who gets the campus, who gets to get in front of the committee. And then I think is the campaign. What does your campaign look like? Do you know someone on the board of trustees? Do you know the president? Do you know someone that knows the president, that had a working relationship with the president? And if you know those people, you start to create your campaign. Send a quick email out to the president's best friend that you knew and you work with to say, hey, and get that information to kind of circumvent the committee. So I think trying to get these jobs are all about trying to build your case for support. It's almost like fundraising. You got to build your case for support and build your network to get in there.